So I can probably say from an experienced player of the game, I'm going to put some commentary on Josh Strife's video here. Hopefully he doesn't copyright me. But I also feel that he is not the right person to make this video because he's coming from a new perspective and I'm coming from experience perspective, and I'm gonna try to put my little commentary on this video at the same time. I love this game. I wish it could be it honestly it should be one of the best MMOs that people play, but it doesn't get that kind of recognition. So let's see.
Tree of Savior have absolutely knocked it out of the park. Seriously, 10 out of 10. From backgrounds to character design to the drawn conversation avatars, Tree of Savior is a stunningly good-looking game. It is dripping with classic RPG style. Unfortunately, it does seem to have a beauty is only skin deep kind of thing going on.
It does have that beauty is only skin deep kind of thing, but that was at the time you came in to play the game. The game had so much more features way before you even came in. I think he came in last year and he tried to come out as a new player, and that is the reason why he doesn't understand or can explain why it's where it is.
Once you really get into it. We start off on this lodge making a character, and I'm getting very super intense.
Alright, so this part here, he talks about the UI and how they didn't scale the character selection screen. Yeah, I don't understand why they didn't do that either, but this is kind of like a minuscule problem. Not many players really complain about this part, and it's kind of like a whatever, just let it flow.
Nintendo JRPG vibe. The viewpoint is diagonal isometric with some 3D depth. The items and objects and enemies do exist within 3D space, and you can see the depth in them as you sway gently around. And here's the first issue. You need to hover over a class to select them. But watch this. If you zoom in all the way, the class choice hitboxes are perfectly mapped to the little avatars you can see in the game. But if you zoom out, the avatar's position on the screen changes because they're now further away, but the hitboxes of class selection don't. The hitboxes for clicking on seem to be mapped to the actual overlay, not the in-game representation of where they are. I know this is a really pedantic nitpick, but that's what I do. I be pedantic.
Yes, pedantic for sure.
Attack someone in Halo, and it doesn't do the little jump forward thing it's meant to do, meaning you don't cover the distance you were expecting to cover, and then they kill you. So I go with a swordsman because I'm basic, and the intro begins. It's rendered in-game, and it's lovely. I'm being taken back to those old classic RPGs. I'm feeling Breath of Fire, Chrono Trigger, Secret of Mana, Lufia, Rise of the Sinstros, Soul Blazer. Tree of Savior has got ambience and sprite design spot on for what it was going for. And then it starts singing, and it's actually...
Fun thing, Tree of Savior is not a sprite-based game. It's actually 3D models that are shaded in that sprite-like look, which makes the game even more appealing because these characters are beautiful. They do give off that 2D vibe, but they are 3D models. So it's weird. It's a weird relationship. A lot of the players that play this game enjoy that, and that's one of the things that I enjoy too. Because when I found out that was the way they rendered the game and how they made the players engage, it was like, wow, like these aren't 2D sprites. And not like a lot of people say this is a successor to Ragnarok, but me, as a person that's played other games, I say this is another game relation to Granado Espada. If you don't know that game, go look it up. It's weird. A lot of people don't know it, and they don't think that Granado Espada and Tree of Savior have a relationship, but I call that out from the beginning.
A pretty good song.
He's over here walking around his lodge. The lodge is always fun. Not many people you can change the lodge, but
choose the server I want to log into. Now, I'm on the European server, and there are two possible gaming channels. The first with 0 players out of 100, and the other with 4. 4 people in all of Europe are playing this game. Yeah, that's pretty dead. Game begins, and it's a bird's-eye isometric adventure game. Arrow keys move, X is jump, and Z is attack. The hotkeys are bound to Q, W, E, R, and the numbered keys. I go to look at remapping these keys, and there are a lot of menus in this game. And even though I'm playing on high resolution, the text is...
So another common issue with Tria Savior is you can play with a controller, you can play with mouse and keyboard, you can play with just keyboard. But as the game has progressed, they've kind of removed a lot of the synergy between the keyboard and mouse and controller. You can honestly play on your keyboard and then pick up a controller and it will seamlessly move. I never really played with mouse and keyboard. I just played keyboard exclusively, or I played controller exclusively. But there's been a lot of players who play mouse and keyboard, and they found out there was a lot of issues as the game progressed that made the game inconvenient for mouse and keyboard players, which doesn't affect me personally, but I don't understand how or why they decided to go that route, which is unfortunate.
And then club music starts playing. I don't know why. I was expecting soft, gentle intro village music like every JRPG ever. Now I feel like I should be ordering 2 Jaeger bombs and wondering if I've got enough for a taxi home. Reach out to this guard, Titus. He asks if we had a vision of the goddess asking us to go to Clepeda. We did, so he sends us on our M opens the map. The local map is divided into squares with fog of war covering the places you haven't been yet. It displays all the important NPCs, shops, or interactable objects like god statues, and this is fine. It's basically everything you need. The slight transparent effect is a bit nauseating if left open for long because of the highly detailed background moving around.
So on this map, this is the first map in the game, and with Tria Savior they have a collection book, and in this collection book you can, when you complete a map, you can get a bonus for completing a map where you can get from an NPC that's in the first town, where you get experience cards, and I think it's just actually experience cards, so that those actually work account wide. So it's not just for this character that whatever progression, you kind of could share the progression amongst your other characters within your barracks, which was a cool idea, because the game promotes you making multiple characters, because they start you off with 5 in your first barracks, and as events go on you can get more, you can add more slots. Like me currently, I have 19 slots. I think I probably paid actual money for maybe 2 or 3 slots, but as events go on you can get more characters.
It shows you where things are, and it's always good to know where the important things are. Kind of like how in Halo Infinite's Oddball, you can always see who's carrying the ball, so you know who to run at or who to protect.
Honestly, I do love the fact that he also references Halo a lot in this video. I did play it for a bit, it was fun, but there's something about the game that doesn't lure me back in. I've been playing Halo 3 for years. I actually did not go to school for my senior year because Halo came out. I remember when Halo came out, I got it the night of the midnight release. I got it, and I was at my friend's house. I lived by myself. I didn't live with my parents. I was at my friend's house playing Halo straight up through. I got the first 1,000. What's the gamer points? I got all the 1,000 gamer points within that first maybe month, and I did not care to do anything. And I think I went to school after in like October, and it was like Oh, you actually came to school. I was like, yeah, man, Halo motherfucker. Like, fuck this school shit.
This time he's been attacked by some onions, so I channel the hero within me and go and kill them. Then I get even more quests to go and kill more aggressive vegetables. The combat is decent, it's flashy enough, satisfying sounds and effects, good contact feeling, but it's limited. You can just hold basic attack and be fine. And later, when I do get abilities, it's just do the best ability.
So, that basic attack doesn't work as you get into the later game. Basic attack is something that a lot of people tried to base their classes off in the beginning of the game, and it works in the lower level. But as you get up in the scales, it doesn't work anymore. Like basic attack doesn't work anymore. The game is still fun. They have classes that work on basic attack. They kind of nerfed one of them, but like a lot of the basic attack classes were Nakamoi, Monk, and Chaplain. But now it's just Chaplain and I think maybe Nakamoi. Monk is not a basic attack class anymore. It works. I think if you go to certain events in the game, like the dungeons, they kind of increase your attack speed, your basic attack speed if you wanted to. So sometimes you would use a mage and you'll be throwing bolts at a obscene speed. But as the game progresses, basic attack not a thing.
Or rather, repeatedly. Combat feels like it could be great, but they've not done much with it in the early game. Also, once you've finished a quest, you can just press backspace and be instantly teleported back to the NPC you need to hand it into, because exploring the world is for losers.
Alright, so the backspace to quest thing is, it might not be, it might seem like it doesn't allow you to explore, but as you progress and have more characters in the game, you really don't want to be running back and forth with multiple characters all the time. So that backspace feature might not seem something that's ideal for a first character, but as you progress through the game, you don't want to be running back and forth with all these different characters, because Tree of Savior kind of builds the game on you optimizing your builds for specific content, and that's what the game kind of has evolved to. You really don't want to be doing multiple quests for the same character, because sometimes, well, now how the game progresses, those quests do give you get experience from the quest and you get additional cards, so they give you more experience as you grow on. And as you progress through the game, they have experience thresholds. I don't remember them off the top of my head. I used to. If I think I do right now, if I could say, like, say for example, there's called experience resets levels. So I think it's either 40 or 75. There's a big gap. 40 or 75. The experience goes back down to as if you were like level 15, and then it goes as you get to like from 75 to 120, it resets again, or 150, I think it resets again to like as if you were level 30. So now the experience, so it's like a weird ladder. So say this is level 1 and this was level 75. Once you hit level 75, after level 75, it goes back down to like that, well, very close to level 1, and then you go back up again and it goes back again, and it kind of resets. But yeah, so if you optimize those cards, you can level up even faster than you would if you were just to use them willy-nilly. All right. So the backspace to teleport is not ideal for the first character, but as you, like I said, the game caters to you making multiple characters for different events or different scenarios. Like as you get into the later game, those cards and that backspace kind of makes the game a lot more easier as a quality of life thing.
World in this game exists to facilitate the placement of enemies, nothing more. There's no emergent quests or hidden side stories, it's just go and kill X amount of enemies who happen to live here.
Alright, so that's the problem, because they are hidden quests and they are side stories to the game. Well, not really side stories, there are side quests, but the main story is very, very, if you pay attention to it, it's very in depth. They put a lot of time into making the story progress, and in the beginning, I would kind of say it's very, you don't know what's going on, you don't really care, but as you get later on and you start seeing and you start to get familiar with the game, which is kind of a bad thing, but once you start getting familiar with the game and who's who and all this stuff, like my favorite demon is Noctis. That's Bay right there. But you start to see like they have like human representations of some of the demons in the game, and it's pretty cool.
It's a beautiful looking world, but mechanically it's just a home for some enemies. All your important window.
By the way, he was just in Crystal Mine. I speedrun that shit. Speedrun Crystal Mine. I'm the best.
Player stats, inventory, skills and attributes are all opened via the F keys, F1 through 7, and as expected, the inventory is filled with some free items given to me just for playing, so I use them and get a load of free experience and upgrade points and spend them all on a skill which lets me stab better. We now face an elite enemy and we're told, jump over its attacks, but we don't need to, because the stab is so overpowered it kills pretty much everything in 1 or 2 hits, and here is my first.
Now, here's the thing. Like I said, auto attack doesn't work. Everything in the lower level game, like pre 350, because the max level is 460, pre 350, a lot of those skills and a lot of attacks seem very strong. But once you get over that 350 threshold, the game scales ridiculously. And if you're not a seasoned or veteran or experienced player, it seems like the game's overpowered and you kind of progress fast and slow at the same time, because you don't know the optimal areas to play the game in or where to go to level up. But once you hit that 350 threshold, it starts to slow down. But once you hit the 450 threshold, you are going to pull your hair out. You're not going to want to play the game anymore. But Tree of Saviors is a great MMO.
Is a dumb idea. We don't know what to boost, and if the player does end up with an overpowered attack, you've just destroyed all balance your game might have once had. Look, I know the situation.
Also, one more thing. Thrust is a cool skill that he picked, and it does have an art which modifies the skill to be a dash instead of a little stab, but not many players use that skill, and not many players are going to work or really value those low level skills unless it's the empowerments or status change skills, or if you're a cleric, because cleric has probably the most stable first tier job skills, because you have heal, you have fade, you have there's one more skill, I can't remember it, guardian, and guardian increases your healing potential. But other than that, and then you have smite increases damage when you strike with it. I main cleric. Most of my characters that I play are cleric, so I'm a little bit biased towards the cleric, and it's different. It's a different game, but
I've been here before many times. You made your game, you balanced it, you measured the player's attack and the enemy's defense, and everything worked on day one.
So, one more thing about this guy that he doesn't understand. They made the game. They tried to balance it. And then they changed it to what now the version is that he's playing. Because the job system before what he's now playing was you can it was like a weird tree, right? So you can pick swordsman, and then you unlock two more classes after swordsman, or you can pick swordsman again. And if you pick swordsman again, you go to circle 2, and circle 2 is like swordsman with maybe 2 or 3 more extra skills that will end up becoming stronger. So those base skills will become stronger for you to play as. But they removed that. So now you pick swordsman and you can pick whatever class you wanted to be. And that was kind of like their way of trying to balance in the game, which kind of, me personally, felt like it took away the customization and the freedom of what you can do within the game. But at the same time, when it comes to these type of games and when it comes to builds, people tend to pick the optimized or the best build possible. So a lot of people played the same roles, and they changed it up a little. They changed it up a lot. If you were a swordsman, some swordsmen, I know players before they called this version the rebuild. I know swordsmen who would go straight con, and they would have at max level 300,000, 400,000 HP, and they were hard as hell to kill. And then there were people who were full strength, and they just hit hard as hell. They would die. I mean, all the stats scaled as you leveled up, but they would hit so hard it didn't matter in PvP. So they changed the system. They changed the way the stat customization when you get from leveling up, and they kind of scaled it depending on how you picked your classes, which was, I felt, was cool. It was all right. I feel like they could have done something a little different. They could have still kept the base classes at the same scale as the other classes, because when they did this change, they made it so every class can go to circle 3, which was level 45, class level 45. And when they did this change, they made it the first class can go to only level 15, and then the other classes that you picked afterwards go to level 45. And then depending on what class combination, they would scale your stats automatically with that class combination, which was okay. It's not a bad thing, but I also feel like it took away from the game at itself. I think honestly they should have made it so you can still get that first class to level 45 if you wanted to, and then if you decided to choose that, make the other classes that you pick level 45, but that third class level 15. I know a lot of you might not understand what I'm talking about, but if you play the game, you would understand. But yeah, the game is different. It's weird. It's a hard
started to fall away. So
pill to
you
swallow.
gave new players some boost items so they could catch up with their friends, but in doing so you've completely wrecked your early game balance. What we are seeing here is the husk of a game now flooded with boosting items and free experience cards given so the players feel some sort of progress, but ironically this makes the players so powerful the actual gameplay now feels pointless.
Alright, so he says the EXP boost cards and the player feels so powerful. Alright. When you have a game that scales up to level 460, because he played this game, I know when he played this game, that was the max level. You get to 460, and you don't want to play this game anymore. You try to get to 450. Once you get to 450, and you get to 460, it will take you months to get to that max level from 450 to 460. You can get to 400 with some cash shop items or whatever, experience boost or optimized training grinding in the game, which isn't that bad. The grind can be minuscule or crazy, but the grinding in this game is not that bad. And you can get to 400, 450, 350 within a day. So if you start the game off and you didn't buy anything and you didn't get EXP boost and you started on probably a weekend, you can probably get, if you started on Friday, you can get to 400 at least if you knew how to play the game by Sunday. And that's really slow. Alright, so you start the game off at level 1. It's your first character, and you want to get to max level, or you want to get the fastest progressions possible. You can get to probably 400 by Sunday.
And now I see two of my most hated design choices all happen at the same time. The wall of drops are all collected at once, taking up the entire screen, because this is meant to appeal to our, ooh, shiny thing with good monkey brain and not actually be substantial. And then...
Now again, Tree of Savior, IMC, changed the game up. So the mercenary badges that he's getting is supposed to be the substitute for actual silver, because they removed silver from the game to circumvent gold sellers, XYZ, which I felt was a lazy option. I felt like they should have just banned any person that's selling gold, just auto ban. But you know, some slip through the cracks. So being that mercenary badges are not silver, but you get them from every monster now, it comes up as an item, because it's actually an item in your inventory that you have to click on to add to your mercenary badge collection. All right, so that's one of the things. And those other items that you get, kind of, they do pop up, they do take up the screen, but I play in 2K. I never really find it as a problem. I kind of like it. But yeah, it's weird.
A complex in-game system explained entirely via massive text dump, not through integrated gameplay woven into the early game experience. We will see this multiple times in my...
I will agree with him on that part. The how you work and figure out some of the things is weird, and they should have a better way of explaining certain things. But at the same time, some of these messages or texts are very dated. They don't really share or show what's really going on, because this here attribute points thing, you don't have to buy attributes at all. You get them so much in so much abundance, you don't really need them.
Play session. So by now, I'm a few hours in, and I think the most accurate word to describe this game is overwhelming. There's a lot going on, lots of classes and systems and quests and levels and items and stats and tutorials, and the UI is flashing and the character nameplates are fighting for space, and there's a lot of drops which all do various things, and I'm not sure if they're good or not, but my inventory is filling up quickly. Also, I click on the premium shop, and the currency they use is called TP, and the first thing it says is no refunds once you have bought TP, check Steam refund policy. Wow. Maybe not the greatest advert for customer satisfaction if you literally open with no...
So the TP system, I never really requested a refund, but I could probably agree with him on that, because IMC has definitely not been the greatest customer support. I think what this is also the fact that if you actually receive the TP and then you click on it, which is when you actually receive it, because when you buy the game, you buy the TP, it comes up in that box, and then you retrieve it. Well, I think once you retrieve that, you can no longer claim a refund, because you're now using it, because now it's in your inventory. Because they also give you a 5 TP every day over a timed meter. which is weird, but or cool. But you can't really use that TP for anything because you're gonna get 5, and nothing in the TP shop is 5, and you only get 5 max. It's not 5 a day or 5 over time. But yeah, this is not a good reference that they should do. One funny thing happened to me when I was playing the game originally, and when I first started to mix the game up. I do have PTSD with this game. There was an issue one time where I killed a raid boss and I got a box from in the game, and I tried to claim something from the box, but at the same time it ported me out of the instance into the real world, and it just erased the box, which I found weird.
Oh, I wasn't kidding about the
Oh, and I found weird. So I put in a claim, and in this claim, I said, "Hey, I just did this item. I did this event. I tried to open the box. Nothing happened. I got Trent teleported out. The box was removed." And this is where I got confirmation, because people thought I was crazy about the game. I said I did that, and I wish I had a picture to show you. But they said, "Yeah, we saw that you went to the event. We saw that you click on the box, but we can't do anything about it." And on the bottom of that inquiry, or that email, it said Granado Espada support team.
class advancement screen being overwhelming, there are subclasses available to just the swordman main class. In fact, I checked, there are 74 different classes available in total.
Alright, so he said there's 74 different classes available. That is true. But as you play through the game, and as you try to progress or try to do certain things with the game, or try to be something unique, a lot of these classes lack synergy. So for example, on this screen here, you have Swordsman, Highlander, Peltas, Hoplite, Barbarian, Cataphract, Doppelsoldier, Rotolera, Murmillo, Fencer, Dragoon, Templar, and there's more. Swordsman is the base, so you can do that with pretty much any class. Highlander is a two-handed sword class. You can't synergize that class with Peltasa. You can't synergize that class with Hoplite, Cataphract, Rotolero, Murmillo, Fencer, Dragoon, or you actually can synergize it with Templar. Alright, so that's just the first class. Alright, Peltasa, you can use shields and swords, so you can use that with a lot of other classes. You can use it with Hoplite. You can use it with Barbarian, but at the same time, Barbarian is it's catered more toward the two-handed sword class, but at the same time, you can use it with other classes because all the skills cover all the weapon possibilities. Cataphract is a mount class, right? So you can't really use a lot of their skills with the classes that aren't mounts. So you have to be mounted on a pet to use their class, a lot of their skills. But they do have passives that work when they're not mounted, but none of their skills or attacks work unless they're mounted, which doesn't make sense. So you can probably and it's not passives. The passives work, but the passives is just catered toward two-handed spears, which I found cool because it does penetration and AO. I think it's mostly penetration, which ignores defense. I love the costume that comes with each class, because each class comes with a costume. I love the costume of Cataphract. Doppelsoldier is a two-handed weapon class. They had a lot of they're more of the most I would say the most aggressive two-handed sword class user. Rotolero is a shield class, but they're considered offensive, which I found very weird because before this before this update, it was a defensive class along with Peltassa. Mermilo in between, very defensive, has a lot of different skills. Fencer, you have to use a rapier. Dragoon, one-handed spear, two-handed spear. Templar, two-handed sword. Rapier, one-handed sword, shield. And that class was a class that was specific to creating guilds. So if you created a guild before this update, you had to be a Templar, which I found very cool because they had things that can like summon your guild members and give you your whole guild power-ups and stuff like that. They removed that, sort of, kind of. You can't summon your guild anymore. You do get guild power-ups, and as of today, they kind of removed some more of that guild synergy. It was weird.
All with unique attacks and passive and armor sets. And there is no way in hell you have managed to balance 74 classes to all be equal. I've got some more quests and I hand them in, and here's a nice touch. The map shows where a quest takes place. In fact, the world map even has level ranges listed to each zone, which is...
Now this map is a little bit confusing. I played the game before this map update, and the map was more vertical, and it showed up, and it had every location listed down on the map. And now they kind of like sectioned them off to different episodes, and they removed a lot of the other maps where you can level up on. There used to be like a path that people would play that knew how to play the game. They would go from the first map over here, which is Clypeda, and they would go to Tenant Church or Tenant Garden from level 1, because you remember, you're overpowered at level 1. You can fight level 30 monsters at level 1 and go there, fight at Tenant Garden, go to Tenant Church, and then go to Ferratory and keep going up, and go from Ferratory to Demon Prison 2, and then from Demon Prison 2 you can go to do some dungeons, and then you go back into Sauces and stuff like that. It was different stories, but they removed a lot of they would remove a lot of these stages that you had to go to for no reason, or for whatever reason they had behind it, and then you kind of had to find a new path. But at the same time, these episodes were more in line with the quest, on how you level the quest and the story, which I felt was kind of cool. But I wish they kept the old story and kind of had like a toggle system to go from quest to map, like had the original map and kept all the other stories and made it, and then had a toggle button to make it go episode, so you can do episode levels, because episode quests did level you up a lot further if you really cared about that. But it was a lot of running and so forth, so the optimized way of leveling up was just going from this map to this map to that map to this map, and it was cool.
Because it gives you a sense of progression as you move through the world. And then, after killing some onions and being overwhelmed with class selection, I take some time out from my day to help troubleshoot some random dude's issues in-game. I mean, I've only been playing for a few hours, but when someone else can't attack, I can probably help out, even though my advice boils down to turn it off and on again. I mean, look, I'm basically helping 20% of the player base here. Now we get given a system we'll never use. Pressing insert makes you sit down and rest, and while resting you recover stamina. And if you have firewood, you can build a bonfire and recover faster, but I don't have any, and the game doesn't tell me how to get it.
Alright, so that whole system, no one uses it. The whole firewood rest type system. I used to play that role back in Lineage 2 where you rest to heal in between your fights, because you kind of the potion system wasn't that great, or it was just the most optimized way, so you didn't have to spend money on potions. You're grinding all day, so you did it. But in Tree of Savior, No, that the resting system was not a thing.
Okay, cool. A stamina recover system. Hopefully that will be useful. But no, because then we're given about 100 consumable pills which restore our stamina. See what I mean about pacing being bad? Here's a system to recover your stamina. Here's a load of items which instantly make the system you've just heard about immediately redundant.
All right, so he's talking about the stamina pills that they give you in the beginning. Um, they are there, they help, but they're not that effective. Um, the stamina pill system was kind of like, all right, you get down to stamina, you can't run anymore, you use the pill, but the pill by the time you use the pill and you run out of stamina, you still have to wait some time before you can use it again. It's not like you can spam of the tablet.
But then I get a new sword and the in-game model actually changes to show the new blade. The art team on Tree of Savior need an award because this looks so good. Get told about goddess statues, they are scattered around the world and praying to them gives us some boons, so we do that and we get given a status point. Not a blessing or something more fantastical or immersive or fluff-based like the goddess smiles on you and grants you whatever. I just get one status point. Thanks, goddess. And then there's...
So the status point in the game is not. It doesn't seem effective in the beginning, but there's like I don't remember how many of these goddess Zemia statues there are around the map, but there's a lot. And I think you could probably get maybe 60 or 53. I think it's 53 or 60 points from these statues. Alongside, once you hit to level 450 to 460, you can get another 200 that you can add to your stat pool, which is pretty good because at max level with the goddess equipment, if you get on your armor, you can get up to 90 points per each armor per stat, and on weapons I think it's 170 per stat, so you get an extra 260 points to whatever you want, which was kind of cool, which was good. And yeah, didn't have a problem with it. I mean, originally the game gave you stats per level, but now they implemented that. Well, I think that was already in the game regardless. So yeah.
There's a mini boss, which isn't really a challenge because the game has given me so much boosting stuff, nothing is a challenge, and I've used all the free XP cards and the game showers me with rewards, and now I'm level 12. I don't feel any different to level 1. I wasn't actually aware when levels 2 through 11 happened. Every level is so meaningless. It's not a happy moment of, oh, I'm stronger. It's just a very bored acknowledgement of, oh, number bigger, keep playing. Levels used to mean something substantial. In this game, they don't.
Alright, so levels in this game does matter, but once you as you level up, the game doesn't scale properly with the level, of course. Yes, I will agree with him in that. But like I said, the game really doesn't start till once you hit 350, because it starts to those one hit scales doesn't work anymore, and then once you hit 400 it gets a little bit more difficult, and once you hit 450 the game slows down to a drag.
Get to the next town over and I'm greeted with several full-screen pop-up ads for daily login bonuses and weekly login bonuses and current events and news and more login stuff. And look, I'm a brand new player. I don't know what any of this does. This is way too much stuff to throw at me. Pace your game better. After a few minutes of running around this town, I've worked it out. I've figured out what's wrong. I know how to explain this. Tree of Savior feels like you're starting a complex JRPG already 50 hours in. Like your mate has let you play on their saved game from halfway through a complex game and you're missing all of the content and all of the training. Imagine starting a complex RPG already close to the end. You've got all these systems and upgrades and items and advantages, and you don't know what they do because you've never had the gameplay moment of using them. Imagine trying to play any of the Final Fantasies, but you miss the first 10 hours of context and training and explanation. That's what this is. It's throwing you in at the deep end and expecting you to just figure it out by spending several hours reading massive text dumps, analysing all the upgrade screens. Nothing in this game is particularly bad, and that's what's irritating me. None of these systems are broken. They are just all thrust on you at once, and it's overwhelming. But we're in the main town now, so let's have a look at the cash shop, because you know it's there. So opening the cash shop shows this button, Beauty. So I click it and get instantly teleported in-game to the beauty shop in town, because obviously you can't buy beauty items from the shop without physically being stood in front.
That is the most ridiculous part of the game. Like, you can buy everything through the cash shop, but you have to go to the beauty shop, like a physical NPC store, to buy other shit through the cash shop, which I found it didn't make any sense. I feel like that was just lazy coding on their part.
I hate this. I hate any in-game system which forcefully relocates my in-game avatar without telling me it's doing that, because then I feel I've lost direct control of my avatar. And for me, having control of my avatar, of where I am and what I'm doing in a game, is pretty important in retaining my agency within the adventure. Once you start taking your agency within the adventure, I stop caring. This aside, let's explore the shop. Everything is priced in TP, and I can't actually find anywhere to buy TP. Clicking the TP button just brings up the no refunds warning. I think this is meant to be a list of packs of currency to buy, but it just doesn't show.
Yeah, you can only buy TP in the Steam shop.
The price is listed £6.50 for 100 TP, so 65 quid for 1,000. Remember that. There is a lot in this shop. Packs and costumes and gestures and refining items and breakdown items. There's a lot here, and I don't know what's useful or what will be useful. So I'm just looking at the prices. There's a luchador pack. I know that's an advancement class, so clearly this is a paid-for class and class weapon and armor pack. It's 549 TP, meaning you'll spend just shy of £40 or $50 to buy this class. But then look, you can buy individual gestures for 198 TP. That's £13. Almost $15 for a single in-game gesture, which you can use to communicate with the roughly 1,000 people who still play this game. I mean, providing you're not on the European server, then you can communicate with 4 people. Look, this is pay to win. Pay to advance quicker, pay to get a better class, pay to progress, pay to break down items. It's pay to...
Alright, so the pay to win thing is definitely a thing in the game, and I hate it. Not everything in the shop is pay to win. Actually, no, I rescind that. A lot of the things in the shop is pay to win, but there's a lot of gotcha in this game. Yeah, like I spent probably like $100, maybe $200 in the game, but that's nothing to some of the players in this game. I've heard some people playing 5 digits a month in this game just to get a certain item, and it's ridiculous.
To talk. It's a game which sells megaphones. You use one megaphone every time you send a global chat message, so you can spam the server with whatever you like, provided you're...
Actually, I rescind that. The global chat you can get free from the 5 TP they give you a day.
Willing to pay for privilege. In Tree of Savior, communication costs money. Everything costs money. I can't specifically point to one individual item and say that is broken because, but I know this is a pay-to-win system. You know this is a pay-to-win system. It's to be a fool not to be a pay-to-win system with the tiny player base it has. As soon as I see a megaphone, a communication tool costs money, I know you are pay-to-win. While in Halo, communication is simple. You just repeatedly crouch over a dead opponent's face. Such a throwback to a simpler time. I get told to go to the woods and find some miners jumping over the buildings in town is a nice touch. At least they've used a vertical design space to do something. You can jump over enemy attacks and over scenery. It shows they've thought about using an actual in-game application for the jump mechanic. We get given some warp scrolls from the shop for free. These return us to town quickly, and then we can run out and figure out we can spend real money on more warp scrolls, because of course we can. fight through the woods and honestly just feel sad. It's like the game has a great art team, a great system design team, but the whole process of putting these designs to the player has failed. They've got a good foundation for a game, but they've dropped the ball on presentation and introduction to the mechanics within the game. And people often ask me to explain what I mean by in-game tutorial or how system explanation can be woven into gameplay. So here's an example. Just consider this. Tree of Savior has an item upgrade system and elemental damage. You can make things more powerful or infuse them with properties or upgrade them with smithing reagents, but it tells you this by saying, oh hey, there's an item upgrade system, and then gives you a huge text dump explaining it. That's not immersive. Imagine if instead you and an NPC that you're friends with fought a boss together, and after a few seconds you realise you're not doing any damage, but then the NPC says to you, hey, he's resistant to your attacks, you need to infuse your weapon with holy damage. Here is a holy stone that I've got, and they give it to you. And the game then opens up your item menu and says, hey, if you go to the upgrade system, add the holy stone, now return to the fight, you do damage. You've now been exposed to the system and you get to see immediate feedback about how useful it could be. You see the relation between the upgrade and the effect in an actual fight. You could even then have a plot point about the NPC having to go and pay penance for losing his holy item to his church. There you go, I've written an immersive story for you, you're welcome. It's the difference between reading a book on how to do something and actually going to do it. You learn better by doing because you feel connected to the actions. I've gained enough swordsman experience to advance to the Dragoon class, and doing this gives me some new armor, so I put it on, and I get a Steam achievement, equip any item in the body costume slot. So basically, anyone can get this after they've been playing for about 3 hours, because you get given a costume item for just advancing a class for free. How many players do you think have this Steam achievement? 4.4%. Less than 5% of players made it to the Choose an Advancement class 3 hours in. Whenever anyone asks me why their game is dying, this is what I say. It doesn't matter how good your game gets. It matters how good your game starts and remains. You have lost 95.6% of players within the first 3 hours. I run out of stamina, try to give the game a chance and use the bonfire rest mechanic. It is pointless because it's just not as useful as eating the stamina pills the game gave me earlier. And then there's a mini boss and it just dies. I have no connection to this boss. There's been no setup, so therefore there's no payoff. I don't know who this is. I don't care. And Tree of Savior really starts to show its true colours here. It's skin deep. There's no personal connection to the events, the enemies, the NPCs. You are just a random hero. For a game styled so heavily after the classic RPGs of the SNES era, they forgot to add what made most of those games special. The hero's journey, the connection to the world, the reason to want to succeed. We reach the trapped miners and free them while I continue to feel nothing, and then we get given another system, item upgrading via anvils. There are 4 types of anvils, and each type upgrades to a higher level and needs items, but you can buy them in the cash shop because
yeah, the anvil system is so out of whack. They have silver, they have regular anvils, silver anvils, gold anvils, ruby anvils, and diamond anvils. Diamond anvils are exclusively to this cash shop, and you can buy 1. And there's been a lot of players in the game that kind of like exploit that 1 anvil, and by making alternate characters or alternate accounts and buying that 1 anvil, because I think it doesn't lower potential, and it doesn't lower which potential is the chances of you breaking the item, and then you just keep doing it until you get to plus 21 or plus 30 on your gear, which was horrible.
of course you can. And once again, the anvil tutorial is given by a giant text up with blurry text and low resolution pictures. Not doing, just reading. Honestly, Tree of Savior feels like a design document yet to be gamified. All the ingredients are there, all the systems are set up and they're ready, and they do actually work. There's just no gameplay to tie them to a relatable, player-driven mode. It feels like the art team made an incredible looking game, and the design team created an amazing, complex, deep game with lots of systems, but the gameplay team, where the player gets to actually experience these systems in a natural way, dropped the ball. The moment a player gets to see how this beautiful world and deep mechanics work as one, how they enhance and relate, that's just not there. You've got some seriously high quality ingredients here, you've just not cooked them very well. And it angers me, because this could all be fixed by pacing your game and spacing out when the player is showing something new, and having an example of how that system matters right now. Tree of Savior's pacing is the equivalent of having a month's worth of food presented to you all at once and being told, eat it all right now. Here's another really pedantic nitpick, but this is the kind of stuff that you should be picking up in beta testing or when you actually look at the cinematography of your game. To enter the mine, we move to the top left of the screen, moving up and to the left, and then we appear in the mine facing down and to the right. This is breaking the 180 rule in filmmaking. This is just bad cinematography. Respecting screen direction is a basic media technique. If we enter the mine moving up and to the left, we should start the mine section also moving up and to the left. The mine entrance should be in the bottom right of the map. Otherwise, the player feels that they have switched direction and done a 180 and you've unnaturally moved the viewpoint. Now it feels like you should be heading out of the mine. Watch and you'll see what I mean. Moving up and to the left, in the mine, start moving down to the right. It feels wrong. If your mine entrance is diagonal top left, you should start moving in the same way. Pedantic, but noticeable. Inside the mine is, well, this is the game's first dungeon. It even has the traditional massive text dump to explain what a dungeon is and how it works. So we fight through and now there's...
I speedrun this dungeon, honestly.
And I think it's here I realised that this is what the game actually is. Tree of Savior is Diablo if it got really into anime. That's basically this game. It's a dungeon crawling hack and slash looter with flash animation, decent combat, and a banging soundtrack, which is in no way diegetic. It's not meant to sound like a mine, because it doesn't actually matter that this is a mine. This is just a model of a world. Aesthetics don't actually matter here at all. Case in point, in this mine, you fight a few mini-bosses guarding some purifiers that you need to activate. The mini-bosses aren't related to the mine in any way. The first is a Grim Reaper-looking death wizard, the second is a giant mutated bear, and the third is a flying stone whale. There is no reason this had to be a mine. The enemies, the mechanics, the music, nothing says mine. This is just a gameplay section. Enjoy it.
Can't disagree with him here.
Slash dungeon looter being really fun with friends, but the European server has 4 people on it. You're not going to find anyone to play with. Unlike Halo Infinite's free multiplayer, which supports bots, so I was able to enjoy a few games by myself with actually quite good AI. Eventually, after a while, because this dungeon is bloody long, you enter a zen-like stabby state. You fall into the rhythm of the psychedelic trance beats, you enjoy the flashing colours, and you just follow the map. I don't know who I am, I don't know why I'm here, all I know is I must stab. So while I stab, let's read some reviews. Barely an hour in, and the game comes to screeching halt with grinding. No sense of direction, nothing engaging, and dead player base. Too much UI stuff. Only thing this game has going for it is the visual side, the 450 or whatever levels, music, and hidden classes. Else, steer away. Removing silver drops from mobs and limiting silver drops to high-end content absolutely destroys the gap between new players and veterans. Probably the worst change to ever happen. Outside of that, the gameplay for levels 450 to 460 is absolutely the worst experience I've ever had. Solo players are pretty much stuck doing challenge mode and instance dungeons every day, all of which reward not even 5% of your experience at level 458. Sure, grind is expected, but goddamn, because of this, you have to rely on experience boosters times 32 and instant dungeon resets. Veterans would have no problem purchasing them, but what about newer players who don't even get silver anymore? This game is turning more and more into a crappy Korean cash grab. Stay away as far as possible. I stopped playing this game a long time ago, after about 450 hours, and got back to it recently for a few days. Good lord, what a mess they made with the character building experience in this game. Only play if you have friends to play with. Despite how much I love this game, I can't in good conscience recommend it to anyone without a laundry list of caveats and warnings, especially regarding IMC's monetization practices. The only people who might want to dive in without question are die-hard Ragnarok Online fans, because this is basically its spiritual successor, and you'll probably be able to put up with the cons and still have fun. Look, I'm giving a thumbs up because the game is fun, but be warned, if you do play it, the company behind it is a bloodthirsty mercenary. Lots of paywalls or time walls. Right, Halo. And it's free. Oh, sorry, that last review was for the Halo Infinite multiplayer, which is free on Steam right now. Eventually, I make it to the third floor of the mine, collect some magical power from some crystals, rescue some kids, and take on the actual boss, which is almost good. She's this demon with chains and skulls floating around, and she
Mertis.
looks great, but it doesn't tie into the mine theme. Again, I don't know who she is or why she's here.
She
And
doesn't
the
really
silly
matter.
laser attack is
She's
meant
part of
to
the
lead you
story.
to jump over it to avoid it, but I've been given so many level up tokens by now, I can just tank it and stab her to death. We were so close to being good here. So close. And again, the balance just lets
And the
us
worst
down.
part about it is
Like
he doesn't even have the buffs.
summon a lady in a
You can
tent
probably
or
one
summon
shot with that with the
Strife
buffs.
the goddess, and we might just be the savior of the world. The tent itself is a small but beautifully intricate map with so much character and charm. It's a shame the gameplay and the general design and the pacing isn't anywhere near as good as the art direction in this game. If it was, we'd have an extremely successful, extremely popular game. So, Tree of Savior, it's a game with fantastic art, dripping with charm and character and style, with a lot of complex systems which all do work, but it's put together in a really overwhelming, convoluted way with way too much being thrown at you and way too little explanation being given. If they redesigned the pacing to slowly introduce the characters to various systems and have them actually be played through instead of text dubbed, I feel you'd keep more people. And if the first town didn't bombard you with daily login gifts and fill your inventory up with esoterica we don't yet understand, we'd be in a much more understandable place as a player. We'd be more comfortable to keep playing. I feel this is a game that started well, many years ago, then slowly got more complex over time, and now when a new player starts, they're exposed.
So the game back in the day before it started was more complex when it comes to the character and class building, but a lot more fun because you would run into people out into the maps. There was a lot more players, and they slowly started to just monetize the game to a point where it just started to become unbearable. I probably have Stockholm syndrome with the game where I still play it because it's still fun up until a point. Like I like character building. I love theory crafting, which is this game has that appeal, but then at the same time they've also are are constantly removing the synergies among classes, and that's my biggest gripe about the game. When you're a new player, there is a lot of confusion. You don't know what to do, you don't know where to go, you don't know how to play the game. And that is also another big thing about the game. I feel that is also the reason why there's not a lot of new players and there's not a lot of players that want to join into the game. But yeah, I could agree with a lot of the points on this review, but I can also disagree with a lot more because he's a new player. He doesn't understand how the game works. He doesn't understand what are some of the things that has happened to the game over the years. But at the same time, he shouldn't have to understand these things because the game doesn't lure new players in. It literally focuses on the current players and trying to keep that player base, which is a bad business model for any type of gamer, for any type of company. You always want to have revolving customers through the door. You always want to have more people because as you get more people, you tend to get more you get more that increases your population, and then you get that 80-20 rule. You get 80% of your profits from 20% of the players. And if that 20% of the player base is increasing, you get more profits. But not IMC and not Tree of Savior. They're just trying to keep that current 20%. They're not trying to increase it, and they're slowly just dwindling and destroying the game. But yeah, I'm probably gonna end here because it's almost 2 a.m. and I need to go to sleep. But yeah, Josh Strife, he did an okay review. I wish this type of review was someone more seasoned than I am. And I've been playing for years, but I'm not a hardcore player in the game. I still play. I think I played last week. I haven't played since the the new week started. But yeah, there's a lot of things that we can do to improve this game, but it doesn't seem like development is trying to improve. They're just trying to monetize and get the most money out of the current player base. But yeah, you guys have a good fight and good night.